Alright everyone, welcome to another coffee tasting. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. Today we are tasting the Pike Place Roast, and today we're going to learn a little bit about the origin of the Pike Place Market, which is what Pike Place is named after. So for those of you guys joining my live stream for the first time, welcome to the live stream. For those of you guys who are joining me returning, welcome back. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button down below. Every subscribe and like helps this channel become that much more better, you guys. So welcome to the coffee tasting. If you guys are new to the live stream, I like to do my coffee tastings with two different brew methods. And so the reason why I like to do the two different brew methods is to really explore the different flavor notes that you get from different brew methods, but from the same cup of coffee. So the same cup of coffee or the same blend of coffee might give you different flavor notes depending on the way you brew it, whether it be a French press and a pour over. And so on my live stream, I like to do the French press and the pour over because they tend to be opposite spectrums of the brew method. So we tend to get like those bold notes with the French press, and then we tend to get like those citrusy flavors, those brighter flavors really highlighted in the pour over. And so we're gonna really explore the different flavor notes, how much it impacts the coffee of the Pike Place Roast. So with the Pike's Place Roast, this is going to be a medium coffee, but I would say it's on like the darker side of the medium roast. And the reason why I'd say it's on the darker side of the medium roast is because of those bold roasty flavors that you get from this particular cup of coffee that almost gives it like that burned woodsy flavor, which is normal to this particular cup of coffee. So not a lot of people are a big fan of that bold roasty burn flavor, but these are the particular flavors that we're going to get from this cup of coffee. With the pour over, we're going to see a little bit more of those bright roasty flavors, which is going to give it more of that burnt flavor. With the French press, we're going to get a little bit more of those bitters, so we're going to see a little bit more of those earthy milk chocolate flavors come forward. So it's going to die down that roasty flavor a little bit, making it a little bit much more of a more balanced cup of coffee. So for the Pike Place Roast, I tend to lean a little bit away from this particular cup because of the roastiness. It's pretty bold for it being a medium brew. I tend to lean more towards like those milk chocolate notes that give it more of a smooth flavor versus like the bold roasty flavor that we're going to get on this. But with the French press, I'm assuming that we're going to get a little bit more of a more balanced cup of coffee because of those bitter flavors are going to come up and really match with those acidic flavors that we get with the pour over. And so the reason why we get those bitter flavors with the French press is because we're getting a lot more of those sediments and a lot more of those oils that are making its way through into your cup of coffee, impacting the flavor and making it a little bit more darker. While on the pour over, because we're using a paper filter, a little bit of those oils and most of the sediments get trapped in the paper filter, not making its way into your cup of coffee. So it's making it a little bit of a lighter cup. Not as much of those bitters are coming through, so we're going to get a very strong accented bright notes. So with the Pike Place, we're going to see those strong bright roasty flavors, which is why if you get like a just normal pike brewed on the pour over, you're going to get like almost that burnt coffee flavor because of those roasty notes. And so that's the actual flavor notes of the Pike Place. I'm actually really excited to try the Pike Place on the French press, just to really explore the different flavor notes that we get from this particular cup, just because I'm not a big fan of the Pike Place on a normal drip coffee or the paper filter because of those bright roasty flavors. So I'm anticipating that I'm going to like the French press much more than I normally would the Pike Place in general, just because of the switch up of the brew method. And that is important to say because brew method, grind proportion, and grind freshness and water quantity is very important in how you brew your coffee. because you want to make sure that you're getting the flavors that's intended by the brew process. Making sure that you get the right amount of grinds, making sure you get the right amount of water is very important to make sure that you get that quality cup, and making sure that it actually tastes the way it is. Because you might get a horrible cup of coffee, but the reason why it tastes horrible is because it might have not been brewed properly. And so you want to make sure that we're grinding the coffee the proper grind for the proper brew method, and then we get the right amount of coffee and the right amount of water. So with the medium or the 16-ounce cup of coffee, we're going to use 30 grams of grinds and about 425 grams of water, and we're going to grind the grinds on a medium grind so that we get those full flavors of the paper filter. While on the French press, we're going to use 56 grams of coffee, but it's going to be ground on coarse. And then with this, we just fill it up to here. It's going to be around 725 grams of water. But what a lot of people will ask me is like, well, is the coffee on the French press stronger in caffeine wise because we're using more grinds? Not necessarily, because with the pour over, we're only getting 16 ounces of water. Well, it's going to be an 8 cup, and those are small cups, but it's going to be about double the amount of serving of a grande pour over or 16-ounce pour over. And because of that, we're actually having more grinds, a little bit more water. So it's going to be the same equivalent in caffeine wise. It's just going to impact the flavor of the coffee. So when you switch up brewing methods, you're not necessarily changing the amount of caffeine in the coffee, you're just changing the quantity of liquid that you're drinking. So with the pour over, we're getting those really, really bright roasty flavors on the sides and on the tip of our tongue with a slight bitterness. And then with those bright roasty flavors, we're getting that really strong, like burned woodsy flavor. On the single pour over, it's not as intense on the like a drip where you brew multiple cups of coffee, but those bright roasty flavors are still really, really strong and really come forward and take control of the cup on the pour over. All right, so now we're going to try the French press. So with the French press, we're going to see a lot more of those sediments and a lot more of those oils. So it's going to bring down some of that brightness and bring forward some of those darker flavors. So immediately right off the bat, when I smell my coffee, I'm getting those strong notes of the earthy bitterness. And again, with this coffee, because the earthy bitters are coming forward so much, not so much that they really take control of the cup, but they really kind of meet the acidity halfway, just to where we're getting that more balanced cup of coffee. We're still getting those strong roasted flavors, so it still has that almost like the burned woodsy flavor, but not nearly as intense as a pour over. And so the reason why we're getting less of those intense woodsy burn flavors is because of those bright citrusy flavors are really taking a back seat, because of those bitter flavors are really coming forward and really enhancing those flavors rather than hindering them. And so we've got the bright roasty flavors being paired with the earthy flavors that are making a really, really nice balanced cup of coffee. Still not my particular favorite cup of coffee, because I don't necessarily go for those roasty flavors. I tend to go for those milk chocolate caramel flavors. But if I were to drink the Pike Place Roast, I would definitely brew it on the French press, because you get that much more balanced cup of coffee. Those bright roasty flavors aren't as intense as they are on the drip coffee. And the reason why that is because those bright roasty flavors are really coming forward, because we're not getting all the sediments that you would normally get in a French press cup of coffee. Good morning. right, so now we're going to learn a little bit about the Pike Place, specifically a little bit about Pike Place Market and what this particular blend was named after and why it was named after that. And so we're going to go a little bit back in time before Pike Place or the Seattle Pike Place store existed. So we're going back to 1907 in August 17th. As an experiment by the city of Seattle, they created a local market created by local farmers, and because of its success, they actually named it the Pike Place Market. And so it's a way for people of the community to come together and grow their own produce and sell them amongst the community, and really help the community thrive economically, and really keep some of the money within the community, and get some of that cash flow going through. And then also, not only is that's important, but it really helps the environment, that to encourage some of these people to grow their own produce and make use of maybe some land that might not be being used. And we could take this as an inspiration for ourselves to maybe start a local crop as well, and then join maybe a local Whole Foods community that might be in your city. I know that here in Palm Springs, we have a local food market over by the Palm Springs Museum, or not the museum, but the Palm Springs Theater, where the locals get together and they sell locally grown produce. And so that's really cool that we can take a look back in 1907, where one of the first locally the local produced produce, which is interesting to say, being sold to the locals of Seattle. And this started in 1907, in August 17th. And then so now we go a little bit forward to 1971, when Pike Place, the coffee store, was founded in Seattle. And we have the founders of Pike Place, who are really dedicated to providing gourmet Arabica quality coffee. And their passion for providing gourmet coffee stems from Pete's Coffee, which was one of the first producers of high quality Arabica beans in America. And so we have Pete's Coffee inspiring these three founders of Starbucks to really bring this fine tuned Arabica quality flavor coffee to the West Coast, specifically the Northwest Pacific. And then because of their passion for the coffee and bringing quality beans to the local area, they named this particular bag after Pike Place Market to really pay tradition to the market itself, and how people can come together and grow produce and really come together as a community to create this market that's now called Pike Place Market. And so that's what Pike Place is it's a dedication to people coming together to as a community to grow and sell produce amongst each other, and really grow and evolve, and really help the community grow through local businesses and small business, such as local produce. So with this particular cup of coffee, I definitely prefer the French press over the pour over. And so the reason why I prefer the French press over the pour over is because we're getting a lot more of those sediment flavors. We're getting more of those bitters, so the bold, bright, roasty flavors that you get from this particular cup of coffee aren't as intense as if you would drink it on a pour over or a drip. So if you don't really like that burnt flavor of the Pike Place, those bold, roasty flavors, I would suggest try it on a French press, because it really changes the dynamic of the flavor, makes it a little bit more of a balanced cup of coffee. You still get those bold, roasty flavors, but they're not as intense because they're not controlling the cup like they are in the pour over. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning a little bit about the history of the Pike Place Market, why Pike Place itself is named after Pike Place Market, and I hope you guys learned a little bit about how communities can come together through growing produce and selling produce amongst the community to help the community grow. And then I hope this inspires you guys to maybe look up maybe a local food market in your guys' city where they might have locals growing produce and selling produce to the locals. I know that if you guys live in Palm Springs, California, we have a market here in Palm Springs at the theater
on 2300 East Barristo Road.
So go ahead and check that out. And then every Sunday they get together and they sell produce. So go ahead and check that out, you guys. That'd be super awesome. And then if this inspires you guys to grow your own produce and join these communities and growing produce and selling it back to the community, that is super awesome. I'd love to hear your guys's what you guys grow for your community if you guys do. And then if this inspires you to guys grow, let me know what you guys are interested in growing for your community, whether it be tomatoes, maybe you grow coffee but live in a high enough elevation. Go ahead and throw that down in the chat. I'd love to hear all about it, you guys. If you guys have a particular favorite brew that you guys like to drink and you guys would like to see it featured on this channel, go ahead and throw that down in the chat as well. And if you guys haven't had a chance to hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, because every like and subscribe helps me make this channel that much better. If you guys enjoyed today's coffee tasting, go ahead and hit that button down below. That is going to be a link of videos that I have done in the past. The link above is just a video that YouTube thinks that you might like. Thanks again for joining today's coffee tasting, and I will see you this Tuesday where we try Ernest Coffee and we explore a little bit of the coffee that they have to offer there, and we learn a little bit about why they chose that particular blend of coffee. Have a great day, guys. See you Tuesday.